So your teacher comes in one day and starts talking about logs. If you're like me, I first wondered, does this have anything to do with wood? Could I build a table, a dining room table out of it? So let's just talk about that real quick. So log is really just another way of saying logarithm, and it's an abbreviation. So we just take the first part, makes our lives easier, so we don't have to say logarithm every time. So before we begin with logarithms, I want to tell you a story about why this is important. Because it's always important in math to understand the value of something. Like, why do we need to learn this? When am I ever going to use this in life? This is something I hear a lot of students talk about. I'm going to tell you a story. So once upon a time, there was a mathematician who created the game of chess, and he presented it to a king. And the king was so impressed that he was like, thank you so much for this game. I'm building my strategy skills. How can I ever repay you? So the mathematician was very clever. He said, all I want you to do is put 1 grain of rice on the first square and then double it for each square. So the first one's going to have 1, the second one's going to have 2, then we're going to go 4, then we're going to go 8, for all the squares in the chessboard. So there's 64 squares in the chessboard, so he's going to go 1 all the way 2, 4, 8, all the way to 64. And the king was like, no big deal. It's going 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. I have plenty of rice. It's not a problem. So actually, this is a huge problem, and I'm about to show you why. So if I take 2 to the power of 64, which just means I'm going to multiply 2 64 times, it's going to give me 18 quadrillion grains of rice. And just to put this into perspective, a 1 pound package that you buy at the grocery store is 20,000 grains. So it would take 900 trillion packages or 900 trillion pounds of rice. And given how much rice we make in the world today, it would take more than 500 years for the entire world to make that much rice. So this king was like completely surprised. He was like, okay, wow, that is way too much rice. So this is kind of an example of why it's important to understand how exponents work and what this 64 means with regards to exponents. So before we get further, I want to do a quick review. So I wonder if you've seen this before where it says 2 to the 3. So that just means that we're going to multiply 2 by itself 3 times. So 2 to the 3 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2. 2 to the 3 is equal to 8. And the next thing that we're going to look at, so 2 is going to be the base. So that's what we're multiplying however many times. And 3 is the exponent. And that's telling you how many times you're multiplying 2 by itself. All right. So I have a challenge for you. I wonder if you're ready. And there's really no right or wrong way to think about this. I want you to get as creative as you possibly can. So if my base is 3, right? I have 3 here. What exponent will get me to 8,500? Or how many times do I multiply 3 by itself to get me to this number? So pause the video, think about it in any way that you want, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, okay? So if you're like me, I would have, just tried random numbers, right? So I would be like, I don't know, after a while I would have gotten to around 3 to the 7th, and I'll be like, okay, 2,187, 8,500 is what we're trying to get to. This is too small. 3 to the 8th is this, too small. But then all of a sudden, 3 to the 9th is way too big. Like, it shot up so far in between these two. So one thing I kind of thought about is like maybe it's in between 3 and 9, right? Maybe there's some number between 8 and 9 that would get me the exponent that I want. So this is exactly why we use logarithms. If I take the log of base 3 of 8,500, it's going to give me the exponent that I need. So logarithm is a way of finding the exponent. And like we said earlier, it was somewhere between 8 and 9, and this gives us exactly the exponent that we need. If we raise 3 to this, we're going to get exactly 8,500. So how do I actually do it? Well, there's a tricky thing with most calculators where they only do logs when the base is 10. So the base is always going to be 10. But there's a quick workaround. So if you want to find the log of base 3 of 8,500, you can just do the log of this number divided by the log of your base. So that's pretty much the video. Just to review, log is just another way of finding the exponent that you need to get to this number. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.